Hello everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make blue jeans and an organza shirt. If you want to draw an item with the same drapes, it will be a very good idea that you make the 9 head out of that figure. So what I do is first I make an analysis of the body with the same movement. Why we do it? Because the drapes belong to the shape of the body and the movement of the body. So you can take it, and if you want to change the garment, you can change it very easily. So now, after making the analysis, I start fixing all the body levels and centimeters according to what I make for 9 head, which means shoulders 5, waist 2.5 and the hip 4. And if you make it according to the levels that I show you, you will realize that you are going to make a very balanced and very proper drawing in no time at all. So I'm fixing the leg with the straighter leg. I'm taking a little bit like 1 centimeter below the level 6. Then I move on the same line. So we need the balance line. As you can see, it's very good to stabilizing everything. And although she is wearing some garment, you can understand all the positions. Now I have a 9 head. What I have to do is to put another transparent paper on top, and then what I do is now I'm working on the details more. I'm shaping the hair like big tresses. So along the body, I'm moving it because when it touches the body, the hair, there is always some little curve, or you can see that it's touching the body. So I'm moving it accordingly. And it's very important that you decide what type of hair you want in your mind first. So you need to make everything with long tresses. Then I'm putting the head, and the direction of the eyes is very important when you draw. So it should be mirrored, not in the same direction that you do both eyes. And for the nose, very little drawing is enough. And the lips. This takes a while, but if you make lots of observation, you can make much more better faces in general. And it's always a good idea to work with either very sharp pencils or 0.5 mechanical pencils. And don't forget, if you make the analysis in a good and clear and clean way, then the outcome of all these 9 heads will be much more better. If you make a lousy job in the beginning, then you are going to get not as much nice a job like you were thinking. So I distributed the hair into tresses, and now I'm planning my garment. This is up to you. Now I'm going to make something with transparent sleeves. And if you are going to make chiffon, please sure that the drawings, the drapes will be smaller and fluffier. But when you make organza, organza is not that soft as chiffon. So it should be having some bulk, and the drapes will be a little bit thicker. That's why you need to make observation. This is the reason. If you draw 3 or 4 items in organza, then you will understand the dynamics much more better. But whatever you do, before you go markers, you have to make everything on transparent paper for sure. And I'm going to make a low waist, so as you can see, I'm distributing the low waist not straight but shaped, because my body has a three-dimensional figure. I'm making the belt now. If you want to make good belt, take a photo of somebody who is wearing a belt, and by looking at it, draw it. But you can change the buckle, you can change the shape, but otherwise you always mix which part is on top of which part. So my advice is that you draw by looking at a real one. So when there is the torso is banded, there are always some creases around these, like a mustache shaped, or like the kittens' mustaches. It's very important that when you draw any jean, you can follow the body, but generally speaking, it's a little bit thicker. Now I'm making a very, very well fitted jean. This jean should be very elastic. So if you are designing it, be sure that the material itself has at least 5 or more lycra in it. And around the knee, there are always creases again, because we are always moving our knees. Then about the boots position, I'm just calculating. I'm going to make buckles, so I need to distribute them through the shoe, and I have to be careful about it. So you need to do clean and detailed work there. So I'm distributing and I'm shaping the boot. And I go to the other leg but of course, first you need to have some pencil. So a sharp pencil is also okay. How you like it. Like some people like to have some heavy, some people like to have some lightweight pencil. But it is very important that the proportion of from knee to ankle is same on both sides. So you can measure by your hand like I showed, and it's going to be okay. This is especially important about the ending of the pants. The hemline should be logically in the same placement. But because there are separate legs, the best way is to take the proportion and apply to the other leg. Then if there are some torn parts, there are different types of torn parts. Again, I'm saying that although the design of the jean can be different, still for the torn part, find some pictures and choose which one you like, and then by looking at it, apply it. But where you want to apply, how you want to apply it, depends totally on your design. So based on observation and change it and make it your own will be a very good idea about making nice illustrations and nice designs. Copying is bad. Reshaping it and using the necessary things are okay. Because your mind doesn't know how to draw them yet. But by checking multiple pictures and putting some certain drapes by looking at it will be a better idea. I'm making the sleeves a little bit bigger because organza is tough and it's bulky. Before you go to markers, you need to take out the excess with some eraser. That is for sure. You shouldn't be forgetting it. Now what I do, I apply with a Copic brush marker the shadows first. So this is also a way of doing it. Some people like to do the shadows first. I like to do both ways. Now because I know that I already decided about my shadows, I can make the rest much more easier. Now I'm using a Pro Marker almond color. But for now, they don't look very nice. When you make the hair, it's very important that you work with the tresses along the lines. And if you use a brush tip, like here now, I'm using a Curacolor for manga series, it should be alcohol based pro markers or whatever markers you are going to use. And then because it is transparent, I should be able to see the skin. That's why I put the skin there. And now I'm going to use a pro marker denim blue, and as you notice, I'm putting everything piece by piece. I'm not doing it all over because I know that with markers, because it is very transparent, all your movements will be understood at the end of the drawing. So what I do, according to the drapes, I go one by one, piece by piece. I do one leg first, then I go on the other leg, and then with the drapes, according to the shape of the garment I'm moving on. I'm not doing it flat. And when it is still not dried, if you go on a second time about giving the drapes, you are going to receive a very lightweight but nicely done, nicely blended type of shadows. And I do the same thing for the top stitches. We are dramatizing a little bit. And then although I was using the big tip, as you see, everything can be very detailed. Now you have to be careful. I have to see the skin, but if it's a lightweight organza, yeah, you don't need to draw all over. Just note that when there are folds, they are going to make the fabric on top of each other and the skin will look less. Then you have to start, after you fully done with the markers, you have to go with a sharpened colored pencil. Here now I'm using a Johann Faber's Albrecht Dürer series, which is also aquarelle, which makes everything much easier with working with markers, because you can blend them much more easier, and also their quality is high. But any colored pencil will do. As long as it is good quality, you get better results. Then I go to the belt. As you notice, the buckle I left alone, because I want to make a shiny silver, I'm going to use it as a base. And the harmony of the design altogether is very important. So you have to note from head to toe about which colors you are going to use. And although you are designing just a jean, it doesn't mean that you are drawing with jean only. The whole outcome is going to affect the look of the illustration, and it can be either changing the whole value. So when you do any illustration, you should be thinking about every single detail, because by changing the model, the makeup and everything, you can create totally different effects. You have to think as if you are preparing selecting the girl and you are preparing her for the fashion show. Now this is all flat. Now I have to use more with colored pencils, and I have to apply the light and color, and I have to treat pieces by pieces differently. Like there are pockets. Pockets are separate, but it is a part of the garment. And when you try to make the shadows, you have to make it with long and nicely blended shadows. It shouldn't be scratches. Even when you need to make lines, be sure that you are not using the same power all over the line. Like you push, then you release, and then you can get a much more interesting crease lines. So I'm going to work a little bit like this, and the dynamics of that leg is different than the other leg, but the torso is working all together. That's why you have to work in that direction. And when you try to make light and shadow, you have to have a sharpened pencil and you have to make it careful movements. That means think about like a resolution. If your pencil is not sharpened very well, your resolution will be lower. But with a higher resolution pencil, you are going to make the shadows in much more clearer and understandable. But don't make it too fast. Have your time and decide accordingly. In drawing, if you want to make it very fast, you don't get any good results at all. Now, because there is some skin showing, I put some skin color, but not all over. I left the white because there are going to be white threads. And here, around the garments, some people draw everything with art liner, but I don't like to draw like that because sometimes they get the freshness out of the tube. So, yes, you can, or you, if you don't want, you don't need to do with art liners all over. But still, you need to make the definitions. That's why, yes, colored pencils can be used, pencils can be used, art liners can be used, but definitions are very important matters of the illustration. And if you don't do any light and shadow, it's going to look flat. So give the details. What is left? Now I'm going to do I'm not doing the shadow all over. I make with the stars and the ends, and ahead of the face there is always a hollow point. So, and for the lipsticks, you can use again very good sharpened colored pencils. Here I'm applying another one, then it looks shiny. So this is the trick. In order to make it realistic, you have to be able to see light, medium, dark, and darkest colors in the same drawings. Then it looks more realistic. Here I prefer to use colored pencil, but you can use markers. This is totally depending on what type of color, what type of material you want. Here I wanted to have a soft hat. And it's very important that when you use color pencil, you have to move it all over, in all directions to get a very good blend. And the edges should be darker. I'm talking about where they meet the head. And now let's start rolling with the details. Now a colored pencil is very good idea to use because you can work with smaller details, and because of the, especially around the tips, make them with power and then release it so that you are going to have very realistic effect as if it is natural and normal hair. And separate them with tresses, and the edges and the beginnings should be darker if you want to have a shiny effect. Now more definition and details. Here now, okay, the top stitches, maybe you don't see it from far if it is a real-time photo, but we are also, don't forget that our mission here is to show the garment. It should be a little bit artistic, but our aim is to show our garments with all the details. So yes, some exaggeration is okay. And again, light and shadow and the drapes, and with the ribs, move it slowly like that and you are okay. Piece by piece, according to the movement of the body. I'm making very lightweight type of color because my sweatshirt color is very lightweight. Otherwise, it's going to turn totally blue. My intention is to have something like ice blue for the sleeves. And the drapes should be shown on top of the body. And then the details are left. So you need to work with the details with art liners and some 0.5 pencils also give a mild attitude, but you need to have a definition much more clearer. If you make it, it's going to look alright. If you keep it this way, it's not going to be that understandable. So I start giving another shot for the shadows of the boots. You may be saying that, oh no, I'm not going to understand it. No, from the outerwear, it will be understood at the end. And then more power. You have to adjust your light and shadow every time you are working on your base. When you change the base, you have to make the light and shadow higher. Otherwise, you lost the appetite. Now I take the 0.1 art liner. I'm not doing it all over for the eyes. Just like an eyeliner, put it on top and around the lips, etc. Then it's okay. So you shouldn't be doing like a map. You have to put the art liner when it is absolute necessary to make it fresh and to make light and shadow with the pen. And when you make other definitions, it's going to look much more lovelier than before. And think about the small details. Think about the little details that matters. And if you need, you have to darken it a little bit for the shadows and it will be okay. So until you think it is okay, you have to continue. But the freshness of the garment is very important, so be careful about not overdoing your thing. Thank you very much for watching.